A new home, a fresh start, a place where memories are made and laughter fills the air. That was what the Anderson family believed when they moved into the old Victorian house at the end of the cul-de-sac. But what they didn't know was that something was waiting for them, watching, waiting, hidden in the shadows of their attic. This is their story, the story of the shadow in the attic. A family's unsettling discovery. The Andersons were like any other family, Mark and Lisa, a young couple excited to start their new life with their 2 children, Emily and Jake. The house was everything they had ever dreamed of, spacious, full of history, and at an unbelievably low price. Too good to be true. And maybe it was. The attic was the last part of the house they explored. A dusty, forgotten space filled with old trunks, broken furniture, and relics from the past. But as Lisa stood there, looking around, she felt it. An unease, like something was there, lurking in the darkness, just out of sight. That night, Emily was the first to notice it. A shadow in the attic window, dark, unmoving like it was watching the family from above. "Mom," she whispered, "there's someone in the attic." But when Mark went to check, there was nothing, just silence, and the creeping chill of an empty space that somehow felt occupied. The shadow's mystery. The next few nights, things only got stranger. Objects in the attic seemed to move on their own. Footsteps echoed above them when no one was there. And the shadow? It returned. Always standing in the same spot, always watching. Desperate for answers, Lisa began researching the house's history. What she found made her blood run cold. Decades ago, the house belonged to an elderly man named Samuel Grayson, a recluse, feared by the townsfolk, who spent his final years locked away in the attic. Some said he had gone mad. Others whispered that he had dabbled in dark rituals, calling upon forces beyond human comprehension. One stormy night, he vanished, leaving nothing behind but his shadow. Lisa wasn't one to believe in ghost stories, but then, the nightmares started. Unraveling the truth. SFX. Door creaking open, flashlight clicking on. Determined to put an end to the madness, Mark and Lisa returned to the attic. This time, they searched every inch of the space. And that's when they found it. An old wooden chest, covered in dust, locked tight. Inside, they uncovered Samuel Grayson's journal, and the final entry chilled them to the bone. "The shadow follows me. It whispers my name. It watches as I sleep. It is patient. It is hungry. And soon, it will take me too." At that moment, the temperature in the attic dropped. The light flickered, and from the corner of the room, the shadow moved. It was no longer just a shape, it had eyes. Hollow, empty eyes that seemed to pull the light from the air itself. The Andersons had no doubt now. This was no trick of the mind. Something was in the attic, and it was alive. Lisa did the only thing she could think of. She called a priest, a paranormal expert, anyone who could rid them of the entity. The expert arrived the next day, armed with relics, prayers, and a firm belief that shadows like these could not be ignored. The ritual was intense. The shadow thrashed against the attic walls, screaming without a mouth, clawing at the air. The lights burst, the walls trembled, and for a moment, it seemed as though the house itself was alive. But then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the shadow vanished. The attic fell silent, and for the first time since moving in, the house felt empty. Living with the shadow. Days turned to weeks, and the Andersons began to feel normal again. The attic remained closed, the nightmares faded, and the shadow was gone, or so they thought. One evening, as Jake was playing in the yard, he stopped suddenly. He turned to Lisa and pointed at the attic window. "Mom," he said, "Samuel is back." The Andersons never spoke about the shadow again. They never entered the attic. And when they finally moved away years later, the new owners found something strange in the dust-covered corners of that forgotten space. A shadow, tall, unmoving, watching, waiting.